Item number 3, councillors, is additions to the agenda. At this time, does any councillor have anything? Feel prudent. Go ahead, Councillor Trevor Cunningham.
Yes, I'd like to add exploring the Yarmouth International Airport and the Atlantic Bubble, please.
Okay, and where do you want, under other business? I take it? That's where it should go, Victoria?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, new business?
Yeah. Okay. Or under,
Item number 9.4.
Airport. The bubble, you said, Trevor? Okay, keep it in here. Not much room
Trevor,
on my
you were
paper.
muted.
Was there anything else?
Yes, sorry, that is correct. The airport and the Atlantic Bubble. My apologies, I was muted.
And the Atlantic Bubble. I might not get it right when it comes to it, but okay. Was there anything else? If not, it would be the item number 4 is the approval of the agenda with the addition of the Yarmouth International Airport and the Atlantic Bubble. Looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay,
With
moved
the
by
addition.
Lauren. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Daniel. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 5, declaration of any conflict of interest. If you don't see something, please bring it up at the time. Item number 6, presentations. At this time, there is no presentations. So we're moving on into item number 7, which is the approval of the minutes from May 27th, regular, June 1st, special council, June 10th, committee of the whole, and June 12th, emergency council meeting. I need to have a motion on that, if I could, please.
I have a question about the May 27th council minutes.
Go ahead.
I see it under the YARC. I'm just going to look and see what section it is. I see it was voted on unanimously. And I could be wrong, but Patty, did you vote for that? In favor of
Yes,
the
I did.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you hadn't. So,
Yes.
no, then everything I've read over
It was
looks
in the
good.
committee. Well, that was the committee of the whole. And after gaining some knowledge about how it wasn't just tax-free, that it is based on residential rate, I voted in favor.
Okay, super. Great, Patty. No, thank you.
Still looking for a motion then to approve those minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from May 27th, 2020 regular council meeting minutes, for the June 1st, 2020 special council meeting minutes, for the June 10th, 2020 committee of the whole meeting minutes, and for June 12th, 2020 emergency council meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a mover. Do we have a seconder for those
I'll
motions?
second that.
Who was that? I don't
Me,
know.
Lauren.
Oh, Lauren, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get you focus. Sometimes you move around on the screen, so I'm trying to follow. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Allen, seconded by Councillor Cushion. Was there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 8, business arising from the minutes. 8.1, recommendations from the June 10th committee of the whole meeting. And it's 8.1.1, letter from Hockey Nova Scotia. Is that that's the only, well, there's 2, but, and what is the,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we just need council to
Accept.
ratify, excuse me, we just need council to ratify those 2 actions.
okay. Then just go ahead, Trevor. Councillor Cunningham.
Yes, so I'll ratify the action hockey, by making a motion, Hockey Nova Scotia restatement on return to hockey. The information received from Hockey Nova Scotia will be shared with the Mariners Center Board with a request to ensure that their concerns, if any, be forwarded to Hockey Nova Scotia. So I'll move that.
Okay. Have a mover. Do we have a second? Seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. I see thumbs up, so yeah, I'm sorry, guy. I'll tell you, after all these years, it just still getting used to this, still a little different. Yeah. 8.1.2, Destination Canada, COVID-19, Resident Sentiment Survey. You had that in your package, councillors. Again, basically saying, Councillor Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason for this was there was an issue where Nova Scotia wasn't looking like that we were welcoming or that people were allowed to travel around Nova Scotia. And of course, that's really important. However, that being said, the Atlantic bubble has opened up. Well, hasn't. It will be as of July 3rd. So I'm not sure if that recommendation to send a letter to the province with approval to ask to clearly state their approval of travel within the province is necessary at this time.
So go ahead, Victoria.
So, like Councillor Durkee, I was aware that today there was a press release by the premiers of the Atlantic provinces, and the survey that was done was measuring the feeling of people in Nova Scotia about welcoming travelers. And so the whole issue, if I understood Neil McKenzie correctly, was that what business owners and residents are looking for is a clear statement from the Premier and Dr. Strang that it is safe. To not always qualify all of their statements with these series of provisos around, social distancing and all that. The feeling is that Nova Scotians need to hear loud and clear that it is safe to travel. And I haven't read all of the press release today, and maybe Councillor Durkee has. Maybe that is actually iterated in the press release.
Go ahead, Councillor.
I did read it, and essentially it says that within the Atlantic provinces are able to travel around all of the Atlantic provinces without having to isolate for 14 days. So, I mean, I take it from that we're free to go to other provinces within the Atlantic bubble safely. I don't know how much more, I'm not sure if a letter asking for clarification would, you still have to follow, I believe, the 50 maximum, and if 50 are together, they have to isolate. And, we're allowed 10 with no isolation. But that's a very good point. Like, if we go to other provinces, do we have to follow those regulations? So that in the end, maybe that's a good question to ask.
Okay, go ahead, Victoria.
So maybe to Councillor Durkee's point, the letter needs to pivot a little bit slightly and recognize that the Atlantic bubble has been allowed, and to encourage Dr. Strang and the Premier to continue to provide assurances that we are safe to be doing this, and that we want to encourage people to be traveling in the Atlantic region, and we want to be encouraging Nova Scotians to be welcoming and our businesses to feel safe to deliver their services. Maybe we just need to pivot slightly in the message.
Councillor Cunningham, go ahead.
So I'll move that we write a letter to Premier McNeil and Dr. Robert Strang requesting that at some point they accentuate the fact that it is safe to travel within the Atlantic provinces, and that will be when that is allowed. And I'll make that a motion to be explicit about the safety of travel within the within the bubble, and not just the fact that you may, but that it's also safe.
Okay, there's been a mover of a motion. Does anybody second that motion? Seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there more discussion on that motion? I understand it. Go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, just clarification on the proper protocols when you do travel to other provinces, because we have had different protocols in place. It might be good to have that clarified as to if we go, then what do we have to follow in the other provinces?
Okay, if I may, to question to Councillor Durkee. Are all Atlantic provinces have the same restrictions and so on, or?
That's what I'm not sure of, and that's
Okay, well, I guess, okay, that's what I
I'm
want
looking-
clarification. Okay,
that's the
okay.
clarification I'm looking for.
okay. Okay, I guess then to the mover is, I can't remember your motion exactly. Did it clarify that on the restrictions? Do you remember?
Well, I mean, the motion is simply to accentuate that it's safe to travel within the Atlantic bubble when the Atlantic bubble opens up, and to let people know it's safe. It's not just permissible to do so at great risk, but that it's safe. And as for the differing restrictions, that may be another message. I'm not certain,
Okay,
and I'm not sure what those restrictions will be moving forward. So I don't know how I could include that in the motion.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay,
that's the gist of the motion and what it is that we
Okay.
want to communicate to Dr. Strang and the Premier. Thanks.
okay. So councillors, you're understanding what the motion from Councillor Cunningham and seconded by Councillor LeBlanc is basically that travel will be safe. And Councillor Durkee had a concern about restrictions, I guess, in that respect. So I guess I'm going to ask the CAO, is that 2 letters, or we just go with the 1 letter of Councillor Cunningham's, that they specify that it is safe to travel within the Atlantic provinces under that?
So there's a motion on the floor, Mr. Chairman, that's been duly moved and seconded. And if I heard the mover correctly, the matters that Councillor Durkee would like to raise aren't included in the motion. So we need to vote on that motion. And then perhaps Councillor Durkee would like to
Okay.
bring her initiative forward.
Okay. Okay, so we all understand Councillor Trevor Cunningham's motion. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Durkee, did you wish to make a motion on restrictions, a letter to?
I'm actually looking at the press release now, and it says, I encourage Nova Scotians and all Atlantic Canadians to follow public health measures in this province and any other neighboring province that they visit. So COVID-19 remains a risk, and we must do all we can to prevent this virus from getting stronger foothold. So it doesn't mention about the other provinces, but I'll just do my own homework and find out what's required.
Okay, Victoria?
Mr. Chairman, I'm quite sure if I reach out to YASTA, they can support us by getting a hold of those public health protocols in our neighboring provinces, and perhaps we can be part of a communications piece there.
Good point. Okay,
Thank you.
okay,
Good idea.
okay. Then we'll move on. 8.2, second reading, the repeal of subdivision bylaw S-0810-97. Need a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, it can, Deputy Warden.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the second reading of the repeal of the subdivision bylaw, S-0810-97.
Moved. We have a seconder for that? Moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Durkee. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. 8.3, Cape Fichu Comprehensive Master Plan. You have that in your package. You had a presentation at our committee of the whole. The wishes of council to accept that master plan. Is that, I guess, Councillor Cushion, then Councillor Cunningham.
Yes, as you're aware, we went through that Cape Fichu Comprehensive Master Plan. And it does line out some very exciting aspects and projects along that area. And I'd like to make a motion that we accept the master plan as presented and go and keep going forward with it with some strategies.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. You're seconding that, Councillor LeBlanc? Okay, it was moved by Councillor Cushion, seconded by Councillor LeBlanc. Was there any further question? There is a question. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
Yes, just in terms of, it was really exciting to hear the plan, and I know it's online or conversation, but having said that, are there plans for a press release? And I also know that there's an event going on July 1st, obviously, at the Lighthouse. It would be good if we had copies of the plan there for people to peruse. And I know maybe it's not a good idea to move, but maybe a few copies to give out, or you know, an opportunity for people to, or a presentation, or an opportunity somehow for people to see that. And also, I'm hoping that it's going to be linked on our website.
Victoria, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, I can answer Councillor Cunningham's questions. So yes, I do have a very basic press release drafted indicating that Cape Fichu was identified as one of your 6 priorities, that you approved the engagement of consultants to help us go through the plan, that we had an extensive engagement and consultation process, that the steering committee recommended the document to council, that council had a presentation, and we have an abbreviated version. So it's a very large document because of the nature of the material, but we do have an abbreviated version, which is what's linked to the council agenda tonight. And I would concur that it's a good idea maybe to have some of them available at Cape Fichu on July 1st. If it would please the mover and the seconder, Mr. Warden, I would make one slight recommendation on amending the motion, and it would be that if it pleases council to adopt the plan, that they reserve the right to reorder the schedule of projects based on access to funding or other municipal priorities.
Yes, that's good with me. I just figured that was a given.
Councillor LeBlanc, are you all right with that? He's okay. He kind of shook his head. Okay, Councillor Durkee, you have a comment?
I had one too there, Warden.
Yes,
I'm
I do.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Am I good
Go
to
ahead, Patty, then Lauren.
Thank you. Yes, while I compliment the group that did the master plan, it looks pretty awesome. By adopting it, we need to, we're not saying that we're going to just do everything as they have suggested right away, that we need to set our own timeline and pick away at the projects as we see fit. That's, I don't want people to think, oh, look, they've adopted this, $4 million project and they're going ahead with all of that. So just make sure that people understand that by adopting this doesn't mean we're doing the whole thing right away or ever, whatever, that we'll need to decide what we're going to go ahead and do.
Okay. Lauren, then Gerard.
Yes, I understand what Patty was saying. The point is that, we did adopt the plan and we will move forward as funding is available. And I believe in later on we'll be talking about that we can, depending on the funding, of course, we can adopt any one of the segments that have been recommended to us. As for Councilor Trevor Cunningham talking about having some pictures or some plans of it laid out down there for people to see, something like this is obviously going to be controlled by the weather. the wind, rain, whatever the case may be, fog. So, you know, we will do what we can for sure.
Councillor LeBlanc?
Yeah. I know what Councillor Durkee is saying, but the way I feel, I think we should spend as much as we can on this project, because it is, to me, that this is the most important project that we've had that we can control ourselves. It's not like the Mariner Center or somewhere else, and we have some money, and we should start spending as much as we can.
Was there any further discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chairman?
CAO is.
Yeah, okay, I'm
CAO.
sorry, go ahead, Victoria.
Yep. So just for clarity, and it does state this in the draft press release, is that council will take that that plan and they will begin to slot it into our schedule of work through your capital investment plan. So that's a
Yeah.
5-year forecast on your
Oh,
capital
yeah.
projects, and so that's how council will take a look at it and figure out what they can work on and when.
Yeah. Okay. So was there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay. Number 9 then. That's right here. Number 9. 9.1, CAO's report. You had that in your package, councillors. You wish to make any comments, or? If not, I would accept a motion to accept her report.
I have one.
Go ahead.
I'm just trying to find find it again.
It's a big report, but
Yeah, but there was a section there I want to talk about. Where the heck is it? It's about the Cape Fichu master plan, and I can't seem to pick it out right as of yet. Can you help me out, Victoria? Which page is it on?
I think you're probably thinking of page 3. I make a reference to it.
Okay, there we go. Cape Fichu comprehensive master plan has been presented to council. That's the one there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the plan is recommended for adoption of the provost that council may alter the proposed water project to align with funding opportunities. I believe we already discussed that prior to when we talked about the Cape Fichu master plan, did we not?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to make sure that we're on the same page here, because it's a fascinating project. The only other thing I like to speak about on that project, and it was it was discussed in quite length with some of our members on our committee, is that although we have a great plan down there, there's other items that we need to address, and it's not a costly thing to address, and that is to control the speed down through the 304 on our way to Cape Fichu, including West Cape in the lighthouse. The traffic is very fast there. People are trying to walk. The drivers are not paying attention to the traffic light. So I'm certainly recommending that we are suggesting that we work with TIR and the RCMP to see if we can't get some of them yielding signs put up in that area. But not only will they count traffic count, but they'll also grab your license plate number if you're speeding. So, and that information can be passed on to the RCMP to try to control that there, because we know there's going to be an increase of traffic down there. We know that the lighthouse is an icon in our municipality. It's everywhere. But we also know that the people who live in that area need to be aware that their safety concerns are front and foremost before we tackle too big of a job. So I certainly like us to, or get staff to look into working with the RC and TIR and to try to make something like this happen. And I'm not saying that we need a RCMP cruiser down there all the time, because RCMP do have their hands full. But I think there's equipment out there and apparatuses out there that can certainly assist them in controlling the speed of traffic. Once you get a couple of traffic speeding tickets, you're soon going to start learning, and the word will spread pretty quick. That's my thoughts.
Okay, Councillor Trevor Cunningham, then Daniel.
Yeah, I'd just like to quickly draw attention to all the policy work that staff and council's doing collaboratively, and our solicitor, of course, has a lot of work in reviewing those policies for their legal fitness. It's a fantastic thing for council to be developing policy, because policy drives the organization. So I'm very, very pleased with that, as well as all of the capital items that we're working on. It's fantastic. I think that we're is a group and is a staff and is a community really hitting on all cylinders. So we've got a few issues to deal with, but by and large, fantastic progress.
Okay. Councillor Allen, go ahead. And
Well, I'm looking to just make a motion to accept our CAO report as presented to us.
Hold on that, please.
pardon me, who spoke? Or,
That was John.
The
You're
reason
saying-
why
go ahead.
the reason why I keep cutting in and out in my pictures because my internet's slow, so I'm going to turn off my video so you all can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah. Item 4 on page 4.9, there was reference to the remote planning, madam, I guess through you, Mr. Chair, to the CAO in regards to water. That's through the planning portion of the REMO. It's not through the executive. So at our next REMO meeting, which is probably going to be in a couple of weeks, as I've been in conversation with Janine, the REMO director. And is there going to be a possible recommendation coming to the executive committee on that?
What type of recommendation are you thinking of?
It's in regards to a report with the hydrologist.
Right, okay, yep. So I know that the Regional Emergency Management Coordinator, Janine Dessette, she is about ready to issue a survey to residents. We want to collect a little bit of data to help inform the conversation for the executive. So it's my understanding that it will get issued tomorrow or maybe Friday at the latest, so that we can try to get a little bit of information about where people are in terms of their access to water. From what I'm understanding, the concern now is not as much that people are out of water, but it's more like the wells are getting very low. So it's, we have a little bit of time to collect some data and take that to the executive. So I'm not 100% certain if Janine and Max plan on making a recommendation or not. They haven't floated any recommendations past the CAOs yet. That doesn't mean that they're not drafting one.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been asking about this way back as far as May the 28th in regards to the water issue, because I could see that it was getting dry back then, even though the lakes and river systems were down. And I guess this is going to piggyback onto my other point in regards to access to, I don't know if there was a motion in here that I seen, and I can't remember, it was in regards to well, a municipally owned well.
Yes.
So we're in the process of doing some research to develop a staff report for council. The initiative is around whether or not the municipality might want to consider putting in a couple of community wells. And so we're working on that research now to develop a staff report for council.
Has there been any consideration in regards to hooking into the existing system, whether if it connected to our own municipally owned business park or anything like that?
Yep, so that will be part of the research, Deputy Warden, and what we'll include are the issues that might go along with that with respect to having permissions from the Town of Yarmouth Water Utility, any extension of Department of Environment requirements where the municipality might be making water available to the public. It will try to consider all those elements.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm bringing that up, as you know, I've sent a few emails in regards, and I've also fielded several calls over the past few days in regards to access to the dispensary out in South Ohio that is owned by the town. And we did receive an email from the chair in regards to the COVID-19 restrictions and also traffic issues that seem to come along there. Now, I have a little bit of an issue with that, and I don't know if we should be bringing that up here or if I should actually have something added to the agenda. But that's becoming a real problem. And it's also, I think, going to be tying in with the REMO. I don't know if Janine is going to bring any recommendations forward in that regard, but it will be quite interesting.
Okay. Before we go any further, Deputy Warden, did you second Councillor Allen's motion to accept the CAO's report?
Yes, I will.
Okay, I'm going to say usually you don't have discussion. I've got you, Patty, and Lauren to come next. It was just when John spoke, I thought he had seconded it, but he hadn't. Okay, so it's been moved by Daniel, seconded by John. Further discussion, Councillor Cushion, then Councillor Durkee.
Yes, excuse me. I'd just like to go back to what Trevor Cunningham, Councillor Trevor Cunningham had to say about our plan that we have down at Cape Fichu and the diligent work that our staff have been doing on policies and whatnot. I just want to reflect back on the strategic plan that we all set down and we all agreed to. Now, I don't feel that our council, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, that we'll flip-flop back and forth on what we should do and what we shouldn't do. We have a strategy. We have a plan in place. Unless there's a definite emergency that arises that we can agree on, that we should stick to our strategy because we have limited funds to work with. If we come up with other things that have to be spent money on, that's going to take away from projects that we want to see happening, sort of thing. So it's a matter of us making sure that we kind of stick to our strategy as much as possible. Number two, what Deputy Warden Cunningham was talking about, the water issue. Victoria, our CAO, Victoria, led to that REMO was looking at some type of possible action and whatnot, so I'd be interested to see that. But I think the water issue, dispensary and whatnot, I think we should have a good discussion then at the committee of the whole at our next meeting. That's my feeling, because it's very important, and the residents of the municipality of Yarmouth need help. They may not need help right now, but they will be needing help, and I'm looking forward for that report from REMO. And I'd like us as a council to sit down and with clear minds and thoughts and discuss what we're going to do. So, okay, thank you.
Councillor Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to point out that I was pleased to read about the Moby mats that they have been ordered. If you go to Port Maitland Beach, you'll see that there is some action. So it's working out to be a great partnership with the province and us, and with making our beach accessible. So thank you.
Was there any further discussion on CAO on the motion? Okay, I guess all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. My comment then I will make is to the CAO. I don't know if you're not putting enough information or you're putting too much information, but I think we could almost have a council meeting just around your reports, the items in your reports from Councillor, the Deputy Warden, and so on pertaining to the water issue, to the plan for Cape Fichu and so on. Victoria, or the CAO's report, is to give you an update of what is going on and so on. I don't want to get into long discussions. If in her report you feel that there should be some more discussion, maybe we could add it to as an agenda item in our committee of whole and so on. But anyway, moving on. 9.2. The May Development Report. You have that in your package, councillors. What is your wishes or your discussions and so on? I will make the comment in District 7. Me and Victoria did discuss it, so on. I do have some development in District 7, and I'm pleased, really pleased. Any questions, any concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Durkee, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to comment that, considering that we've been through COVID, development is continuing to happen. And, these numbers look really good considering the situation that we are in. So I will make a motion to adopt the development report as presented.
Been moved by Councillor Durkee. You're seconding that, Councillor Cushion? Seconded by Councillor Cushion. Councillor Cunningham, you have a question?
Yeah, I see in the overall development report, single-family dwellings, it says 3 permits for a sum total of 1.174 million and a little bit of change. 2 single-family dwellings listed below, and I don't know if the permits are, I don't know if that's correct, where there are 3 permits issued, and but the 2 numbers add up to the 1.17 million and change. Sorry, maybe that one number needs to be changed from a 3 to a 2. I'm not certain. I just happened to notice it.
We'll check on that, Councillor Cunningham, because the report does automatically generate from the system where we input the building permits. So I will absolutely just double check that and verify the system is operating correctly.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Been moved by Councillor Durkee, seconded by Councillor Cushion. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. Added to new business was 9.4, and it is the Yarmouth International Airport and the Atlantic Bubble. Councillor Trevor Cunningham.
Mr. Chair, you missed
Oh.
item 9.3.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, I apologize. Thank you, Deputy Warden. Trevor, before we go on to you, 9.3, election 2020 e-voting. You have that in your package, and the councillors had meetings and so on. And I guess the recommendation, we're looking for a recommendation this evening, so on. So the floor is open. Councillor Durkee.
I'll make the motion so that we can have a discussion. I would like to make the motion that we adopt e-voting for the 2020 election.
Okay, there's been a motion on the floor to accept the e-voting for 2020. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it for discussion purposes.
Okay, Deputy Warden second. Okay, the floor is open for discussion. I guess Councillor Cushion, go ahead. First.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Although we had that presentation on the e-voting, and I got to say I was very impressed with it. I was pretty negative at first about it, but I was pretty impressed with it from what was presented to us. My only fear is if we go ahead and adopt this for this upcoming fall election, I'd like to know if we're really gonna let the people in the municipality of Yarmouth on how to use this electronic voting, anywhere from the telephone to a gazebo somewhere or a kiosk somewhere. So I think it's very important that we do a lot of promotion, a lot of advertising how to do this. And if we have to, I really don't know the best way to do it, but just putting it on our website, yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. Putting it in the paper, yes, no doubt about it. It's a good thing to do. But we still have to make sure, I don't know if we can put something in the mail to deliver to the people just to explain how to do it. And I think in there, because I see Victoria had her hand up.
Was there anybody? Councillor Trevor Cunningham, go ahead.
Right, I had my reservations at first, and I mean, certainly we've always traditionally had a paper ballot, and I like that. I like going and voting in person. Having said that, we did have a presentation by IntelliVote, and our returning officer, Mr. Dean Fuller, was there as well, and our CAO council and others, and it became pretty clear what most municipalities, including what I think we should do in the motion, directs us to do, or will direct us to if successful, is that there's just too much risk around a paper ballot. Poll workers with COVID out there, and I mean it may there may be a resurgence of COVID in the fall, and we wouldn't want to put our election in jeopardy by having a paper ballot at that time. So unfortunately, there's really no other way forward but a fully electronic election. So, and I say unfortunately just because COVID is out there, and we'd rather not have that issue to deal with, but we do. And so given what's going on in the world and in terms of COVID, it's really the only way forward. So, and it's a good way forward. Thank you.
Was there any further discussion? Okay, go ahead, CAO.
Mr. Chairman, so I
And
would
then
like
John.
to.
Yeah, I see you,
I would
John.
like to speak to Councillor Cushing's comments because they're critically important. So even if we were considering this change outside of COVID, but especially inside of COVID, a very immersive, a repetitive, a consistent communication plan is going to be required. And so the returning officer and myself had a high-level conversation about communications today. And knowing that council was going to be entertaining this idea tonight, we kind of outlined what we thought absolutely had to happen. And we will have a robust team available to us. So we will have our returning officer. Our communications officer starts on July the 6th. IntelliVote will support with that. And we have a model. So the town of Truro was a great model when they moved to e-voting. And they just saturated the airwaves with information on how people could vote, what they needed to do if they weren't sure how to vote. They had resources available through the helpline to make sure people could get the help and the information they needed. And absolutely, the District of Yarmouth will want to invest a lot of time and energy into that because, like you, we want our residents to have access to a fair election.
Okay, Deputy Warden, you had a concern?
Yeah,
Question.
one of the things was on page 6-11, and it was regards to the length of the meeting. And I had stated this earlier. It says here, voting will be enabled by the implementation of the voting e-system, phone, internet, allowing voting over a 7 to 12 typically day period, 24 hours a day. And I had also expressed all along, and one of my big concerns was the amount of time that the voting would be open. So my question through you, Mr. Chair, to the CAO is that time frame addressed in a policy that council would have provided we adopted or moved forward with IntelliVoting?
So it's a great question, Deputy Warden. So if this is the wishes of council, actually what we need to develop is a bylaw, an alternate voting bylaw. And in the alternate voting bylaw, it won't necessarily speak to what the window for voting will be, but it will speak to who sets the dates for voting. Now, in the proposal that we received from IntelliVote, that window was recommended for this particular election because we have a long weekend in there. We have Thanksgiving weekend. And the data suggests that during a long weekend, so it will be the 2 days of the weekend and then the Thanksgiving Monday, voting drops off by about 50%. And also by having that window, you eliminate the need for advanced polls because the notion behind advanced polls was to make sure there was adequate access to voting. And so a voting window that looks something like this also ensures that adequate access to voting, which is a requirement under the Act.
Yeah, that's true, ma'am. But on the flip side of that is, number one, I'm not looking to protect my seat. I just want to make elections fair to everyone. But since I'd be the incumbent out here, and since District 1 is certainly the largest district by far in all the municipality, it depends on what type of restrictions we're going to have in regards to house campaigning, whether that's even going to happen at all. I'm not sure yet. But to make it fair for anyone running against an incumbent, especially out in a district like this, people could already have voted and they haven't even gotten to their house yet. That's what concerns me about that very long time frame. Like for me, it's fairly easy. I know all the ins and outs, and or someone out here or someone within the municipality, Yarmouth wants to run in District 1, which is my district, they're going to find it awfully hard to start reaching people in, especially if you have a 12-day voting period. It's going to be difficult to cover that type of ground because obviously we're stretched out here. Like I said, I'm trying to make it fair not only for myself, but also anyone else wishing to run out in this district specifically. That's what my main concern was, and that's still one of my big holdups in this regard. But I do realize the fact that this is the wave of the future, and we need to protect the public, but yet have a fair and balanced election. But I find that 12-day period that was suggested here is a little much.
So if I could answer that, Mr. Chairman. There are rural municipalities and regional municipalities that have been doing e-voting for a number of elections, and I'll speak to HRM. So HRM has the highest rural population of all the municipalities in Nova Scotia, and there are districts in HRM that are less densely populated than the one you're referring to, Deputy Warden, and are larger. And HRM typically has a voting window that looks like what has been contemplated in the proposal we received.
People out here like sure. I will say that. Yarmouth County is certainly not HRM.
Yes. Okay. Was there any further questions from councillors? If not, I have a couple of concerns, if I may, and I apologize for not being able to make that presentation. I, as in John, do have some concerns on the 7 to 12 days. I realize that some people would like to, the day that the election is called, they know they're going to vote, and they know who they're going to vote for, and they don't want to wait and so on, and that's fine. But my concern is, as John stated, anybody that's new, trying to get to houses, even us as incumbents, if we're going around to a lot of the houses, we can't get to all of them before the 12 days are up, or the 12th day for voting starts. So I feel bad if one of us goes knocking on the door and, oh, I've already voted. It makes you kind of, okay, thank you, out the door you go, or whatever you're doing for campaigning and so on. But I guess, Victoria, that's a minor detail for me. What I'm concerned is, and even on a paper ballot, you can have discrepancies and so on. And I guess what I'm wondering is, because Nova Scotia and this Intel voting, they're doing, I believe, all of Nova Scotia. Did I read that proper somewhere? They're going to be doing
all the municipalities that choose to use e-voting, yes.
Yes. That's a big, I want to say a big turf. It's not going to be without problems. And I guess what my concern is what is their backup plan to have people in place to solve any of the issues that we just say on the 12 days comes up, and on the 5th day of voting, something happens. Do they have people that they're going to be able to fix and look after and I see you shaking your head. I guess I want a reassurance of that. I don't want any of my fellow counselors, and I don't want any new counselors to have issues right after, the day of, on that Saturday when the counting is final and so on, that there isn't, well, 35 people weren't able to vote because the internet didn't work or they didn't get a return that their vote went through, et cetera, et cetera. I guess that's what I'm looking at.
So it's a really great question, Warden Anthony, and it's important that we actually do, talk about this for the benefit of the people who will watch this council meeting. So there are several layers of protection that are involved. So internally inside of Modi, there are two things. So number one, we will actually have to appoint what's called an auditor. And the job of that person is to actually challenge and test the system, to do things to try and break it through the whole voting period to make sure that it can't be broken. We will also be responsible to have a help desk. So we will have to have a number of our own employees assigned a shift during a help desk so that when people have a question or issue about how to vote, there's a number they can call and somebody will be there to answer. Then on IntelliVote's side of things, they have intentional redundancies. They have a help desk to support us. And they also have people testing their system internally as well. So there are several layers. What I would suggest to you is years ago when this council first entertained a presentation by IntelliVote a number of years ago, a lot of these bugs were not being handled very well, and IntelliVote has adopted processes and procedures to address those. And as a result, they have contracts to deliver First Nations elections, federal elections. They do elections for political parties. And the volume of voters in Nova Scotia is well below what their highest election was. They had an election where they had 1 million voters and their system handled it no problem.
Okay, I'm fine with that. So is there any more concerns or questions from council?
If I could just say one more thing about the voting window, Mr. Warden, if that's okay.
Yes.
The deputy warden brought up a good issue about if somebody is campaigning and they arrive at somebody's home and they've already voted, the advance poll would be a requirement outside of this process. And that is going to happen at least a week before election day. So that could still happen to somebody. Anyway.
Yeah, no, that part is true. That part is true. So is there any further questions? Hearing none, are you ready for the vote? Somebody call the question, please.
Question.
Question being called. All in favor of Intel being the supplier of the electronic voting and so on, signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded. Motion carried. Now to the CAO. Do we have to implement a bylaw or anything?
Yep. So we were sort of thinking this was how it was going to go. So we do have a number of draft bylaws from other units. So at Committee of the Whole in July, we'll be bringing a draft bylaw for you, and we do have to get along on that process pretty quick. So be watching for documents by email in advance of Committee of the Whole, so you can be familiarizing yourself with it. And we will set aside a significant amount of time during Committee of the Whole to make sure everybody's comfortable with this.
Yeah, okay, fine. Good enough then. We'll move on to 9.4, Trevor, the Yarmouth International Airport and the Atlantic Bubble. You have the floor, sir.
So I guess we all know that the Atlantic Bubble's coming, so that will allow travel among the 4 Atlantic provinces. And as such, there may be an opportunity to, through Yarmouth and Acadian Shores, I'm thinking, to look at enticing some airlines to run, some service to and from Yarmouth Airport. We're a tourist destination. COVID's not really very present at all in the Atlantic provinces, thus the bubble. So, it's not likely we're going to have tourists from other areas outside of Atlantic Canada, or very many, I wouldn't think. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen moving forward, but that doesn't look like certainly not a certainty. And I think many people are very, very concerned about having folks that come from areas with high rates of COVID come into our Atlantic bubble. So having said that, it would be great if we could explore bringing people from other Atlantic provinces by a plane, because lots of people are looking for holiday. They may have planned to go overseas or the United States. Those plans are now, I think, largely scuttled, and they may in fact choose not a staycation, but one that somebody from St. John's, Newfoundland, never been to Yarmouth, may want to fly into the airport on a charter or private plane or some other mode of transportation that involves flying. And I think it's worth us so I'll make a motion that we ask Yarmouth and Acadian Shores to look into this possibility for our area and for the airport.
It's been a mover. Are you seconding that, Daniel? Councillor Allen?
I'll second that for discussion, yes.
Okay, been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Go ahead, Councillor, you have the floor.
Just to add to that, I'm just wondering if this would be a great spot for our economic development officer to maybe join forces with Acadian Shores, just, as far as inquiring and things like that. I believe this should be right up his alley.
Yep, I would appoint him as the staff lead to liaise with YASTA on this.
Yeah. Great idea, Trevor.
Councillor Durkee.
I think the idea is excellent. People want to travel. I think people are itching to get out and go to different places. And you're right, there are people and small airports around at the Atlantic Canada. Now, we can't have regular passenger service, but we certainly can have charter service if people want to set that up. So I think it's a great idea. Thanks.
Councillor Cushion.
It's so interesting to hear about charter services. I've been saying that since day one, that we got to look at charter services to come to Yarmouth Airport. It's just something that should have been done long ago. And well, if it's time now to do it, let's do it. We got to do it in Atlantic Canada first, do so. But we got to look at charter services. It's a big, big business.
Good point. I'll make a couple of comments if there's no further comments. I think there would be an opportunity. You're not going to start on Monday. Oh, I'm sorry, Gerard. Go ahead. Councillor LeBlanc, go ahead.
Now, I just would make a comment. You would think that the airlines are not busy right now, and they should have, some small airplanes that are looking for business. So that's a great idea. Good going, Trevor.
Thank you.
My comment, I believe it's a great idea. I think it has potential, but in order to put something like this in place, you don't start on Monday and have it in place by Tuesday. It take a lot of work because you got to have some, I'll call it packages and so on. Car rental facilities is another thing. If they're flying in, they're going to want a car to get around and so on. There's a lot to it. Trevor, I really hope that this would, here comes my pun, that it flies. This would be good for Yarmouth. It would be good for PEI. A lot of people in Yarmouth, believe it or not, go to PEI. Time PEI comes to Yarmouth. So, hey, if they can get out and if Victoria can have this all locked up by 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, it'd be great. Anyway, you ready for the question? Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you very much, Trevor. It's a good idea and so on. Let's hope it works.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could, just for clarity, just so that we're all clear. So we are investors in YASTA. So this will actually be a letter to the chair of YASTA, carbon copy to the executive director making the request because, the board sets the direction for that group. So it'll be a request from us to that group. And I'm likely to carbon copy the Western Regional Enterprise Network on that.
Yes. Okay, in saying that, should the Yarmouth International Airport be carbon copied in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, moving on to item number 10, correspondence. You have that also in your package. 10.1, 10.1.1, letters that we received, or letters that we received, and emails and so on that we received. Closure of the YMCA. You have that in your package. I don't know, but I'll just take a rough guess. 20 emails in that area that we had, Victoria, and so on. What is some of the comments or concerns or anything of the council? Go ahead, Councillor Allen.
Well, for starters, I appreciate getting the feedback from the public. It was definitely not an easy decision that was made by council at the time. I think what people should know is that if we are invited to any table to sit down and talk about bridging any type of gaps, that we will be there. We definitely would not turn our backs on it. That proposal that it was the proposal that we I guess just couldn't do at the amount of money and the time. You know, it wasn't that we wanted to see the YMCA close or move on or anything, but you know, the ask was an all or nothing ask at the time. Unfortunately, you know, for us to throw a little bit at them, to me would personally, I would have considered that kind of an insult, because I know it wasn't going to go anywhere. But no, it's nice. It just shows you that the community, some of the community is aware of what's going on. The community is aware. We know we need this type of facility in the community. We know it's great for everything: health, seniors, young, everybody. And I want people to really understand that, you know, if we get invited to a table, we're going to be sitting at it, and we will see what we can do at that time. So, you know, I appreciate all the comments and the letters we're getting. They've been very respectful. They've just stated their opinions, and you know, a lot of them start with the same thing. Like, we all grew up going to the YMCA. I was one of them. I grew up at Arcadia School. We bus there every Friday morning for swim lessons. So, no, I really appreciate the people reaching out. But yeah, we're still listening. That's all.
Councillor Durkee, then Councillor Cunningham, excuse me. Oh,
I
I'm
agree
sorry.
with
Yes, one.
I think that, you know, again, I repeat that we did say no to a specific proposal, but that doesn't mean we're not willing to talk about it. I do agree we can't be particularly without a pool until we, you know, build a new one. I mean, we know that's a couple of years out anyway, and this is just so important to our kids, and it was important to me. Also, I'd like to comment that, you know, that pool is really old and it is very doubtful that you could build another pool in the same location. And so in order to get something new, it's going to have to be in a different location. But until such time, kids need swimming lessons. We're surrounded by water. We have lakes. And, you know, we have fishermen too that it should have swimming lessons. God forbid anything should happen. So those lessons in particular are important, and the health of our citizens. It's a community place. Community is really important. And I think it's up to us to be able to provide those services to our community, for those who live here now and for those who want to come.
Councillor Cushion, then Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I'll be the first one to say that recreation and fitness is a critical point in our community. My wife attended the cardio thing last year when she after she had her heart attack, and it was very beneficial to her. As I said, recreation and fitness is very important. Is the acronym YMCA important? Recreation fitness is important if let's just stop and think about this in reality. If we decided to spend money to help redo the pool at the present YMCA, how long is it going to take? We know COVID-19 is in right now, is shut down. It's probably going to take, I'm guessing, close to 2 years, year and a half to 2 years, before we get a pool that we're going to Band-Aid. The Mariner Center complex, or the proposal that was given to us, to me, was a pie in the sky. I believe if we went out and the 3 municipalities that get together and we put a number out there and say that we need a pool and we need it ASAP, and we go through the procedures, if I'm wrong, Victoria, just correct me, we could probably have a pool in 2 years' time with a competitive pool. We know that Yarmouth residents, Yarmouth area, are great in hosting competitions, hosting events. We know that they will come and spend money in the Yarmouth area. I wasn't aware of how, what's the word I'm looking for? How enthusiastic people are that are into swimming go to these swim meets. My grandson was a competitive swimmer. He's on the Dell swim team this year. We went to some of these meets, and it was unbelievable to see the amount of people there, you know, visiting, spending money, and whatnot. If we, let's go to reality. Let's put a number out there to consultants, say, we have X number of dollars, build us a pool, the change rooms, and a place for people to watch, so that, you know, the hard work that Jenny Smith has done in the past with the YCAP, and the present people who are teaching swimming and whatnot, can have something within a 2 year, maybe 2.5 year period. If we look at the present pool, how long is it going to take to fix that and fix the building? You know, so that's a question we have to ask. It's not that we're against fitness and recreation, but I think it costs, you know, the local YMCA, I think it costs them a few $1,000s just for that name. I like to see us have a fitness and recreation center and a new pool. And I think we can do that if we want to put our minds to it. And I know it's election time coming up, and people are sending the letters out and whatnot, trying to get it. But again, as Daniel had mentioned, that Councilor Allen had mentioned, and Patty had mentioned, if it comes to a point where we have to sit down at a table and discuss, we'll be there. But I think we really should look hard at how we can proceed with something that will last for 40 years. Thank you.
Councillor Trevor Cunningham, and then Gerard.
Right. I mean, I had a number of emails as well, and read the ones that were sent in direct to the municipality, and they were all heartfelt and very, very valid opinions. And I agree with them that not having a pool in the Yarmouth area is a travesty. You know, the cessation in services is not a good thing at all. COVID is of course present or is a factor, but you know, we need to get on this immediately. I'm hoping to hear, certainly our council will hear from the province and our partner municipalities, and we'll be at that table to look for a solution. And I think the solution needs to involve reopening the Centennial Building, YMCA, on a temporary basis, and with a longer term plan to get a pool / recreation facilities at the Mariner Center site. So certainly I agree with everybody. That's the end goal. But in the interim, we will need to have a pool. I mean, I know I have a son too that swims, and know a lot of people in the swim community. And you know, you need a good facility to train. It's like track and field. Without the right facility, you will not train the athletes in the proper manner, and they will not have the opportunity to go on to Dalhousie or Acadia or any other university and swim competitively, because they will just not have developed enough to that point. It just doesn't happen without the correct facilities. So that's on us, and we need to do better. The town needs to do better. Argyle needs to do better, and the province and the feds certainly need to do better. So we need to get our act together collectively, listen to these people, and get it done, for our residents and for our youth and for the whole population. So it's very, very important. So I'm looking forward to working with our other partners to solve this problem, short term and long term. Thank you so much.
Okay. Councillor LeBlanc, you have the floor.
Thank you. Yeah, I've had a few letters also, and I'm with the people. The one thing, who are we waiting for to invite us to a discussion? Why, we want to help. Why don't we start the discussion with whoever? We start the conversation, because the public seems to think that we're to blame. Why couldn't we stop that if we started a discussion and, we start? And I agree with Lauren. I said basically the same thing last council meeting. We should find out the timeline of how long it is going to take to fix the pool at the Y and to be used by the public, and see what the timeline would be to get somebody to build us a pool and the facility for recreation. Could we do that?
Yes, that could be done. And we'll,
Yes.
Yeah. Is there
Okay.
any further discussions?
Let's
on?
do
So
it.
We will, and you'll have some discussion here in a bit on that, Gerard.
Thank you.
Councillor Allen, go ahead.
I'm not going to be long. Someone once told us there's more than one way to build a bridge. So, we've got to just keep open minds when we're working on this, because, there's more than one way to solve this problem. And I think we're going to be at the table when it comes time to solve it, regardless which way it is. And we're going to do the best we can to represent the people that we are representing as far as tax dollars, to get us through. If we're going to build a bridge, the bridge has to go to somewhere. You can't build a bridge to nowhere. So, but there's definitely more than one way to build a bridge. There's a competitive pool that's not that far away that we can access, I'm sure, if we needed to support our swim teams. There's other things, but I think, probably I'm getting a little off topic. I'm back to appreciate the letters. I want people to know that we haven't just closed our doors. We are here. I think every one of the council members around this table we are definitely eyes open and trying to move forward with this. So thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Make a couple of comments, if I may. The emails that we received, each and every one of us individually, or the ones that that we received and then passed on to our fellow councillors and so on, all of them were basically on the same note, the youth, and for the seniors, and in the swimming and so on. And they were all very, very concerned about the health and basically on the swimming part for young people because of the water, the closeness. People, we can say, well, I got a cottage at the lake, you can learn to swim there. Well, a lot of parents would like their children to learn to swim at the Y before they take them to the lake, because they just don't want them to learn at the lake. But that's in here and there. There is a need. The municipality has never said no to the need of a pool. The municipality, I believe, kind of said no to the plan that was presented to us. There has been work going on, and I believe the province is looking at setting up a meeting with 3 municipal units and so on. And it's in their hands to set up the meetings and so on. The 3 municipal units, the CAOs, the wardens, deputy wardens, and so on, have said whenever you can arrange, we'll be at the table. And the municipality will be at that table, and we'll have good open discussion. But the municipality had also been asked back in 2018, 2019 to look at a new project of a new aquatic center. And we went out, we done that. And that was put on hold because of COVID and so on, and because of financial restraints and so on. So we haven't moved any further on that. So we're kind of like in a holding pattern, and I know people get frustrated, but rest assured to the residents of the municipality, and rest assured, I believe, to the residents of Yarmouth County, that the 3 municipal units will be looking at something to satisfy the needs. So on. So if that's everything, we can move on. You've had your 10.1.2, letters from Yarmouth and Area Chamber of Commerce, Love Yarmouth campaign. You had that in your package. It was quite a nice little idea and so on. So what is your comments, your concerns, and so on? Go ahead, CAO.
So I asked a couple of follow-up questions, Mr. Chairman, that I thought might help council with their conversation this evening. So we reached out to the executive director of the chamber, and we asked who the campaign would be targeting. And it's business owners and citizens throughout all of Yarmouth County. And so they're going to use a couple of different approaches depending on which of the markets they're trying to reach. But the idea is that we're a community and we support each other. So the campaign is already running. Some of you may have seen some of it on social media and on their website, and it really looks great. And then the feeling is that they'll capitalize on the positive momentum of this campaign and plan to do something that leads into the prime retail season for Christmas. And so when I asked the executive director, how they were going to accomplish this, they're doing it in 2 different ways. So with respect to the businesses, they're going to work through their direct marketing lists, and they're going to reach out by email, phone, and in person. And they may also do some pieces by a consumer-focused campaign. Then as far as citizens and consumers go, they're going to leverage social media, radio, print, out-of-home, signage within businesses, and those sorts of things. So they're encouraging widespread social sharing of the campaign, which means if you see it on your social media, like it and share it. And then they feel like that will create a perpetual brand for Love Yarmouth. And so when I asked Rick, so what's the message? What's the essence of the message? And the essence of the message is around the value of doing business locally, that it's grounded in economic data in terms of when you spend your money here, what you do for your community, that it instills pride in our community, and it helps change the narrative. COVID has been very depressing for a lot of people, and so this will help spur hope, and it will motivate some people to action so they'll feel like they're doing something to fight back with COVID. And then of course I did ask the question, in terms of supporters for the campaign, how will they be acknowledged? And he indicated that they'll be acknowledged in all of the materials, whether there's posters, signs, ads, videos, all of the sponsors will be acknowledged in those ways.
Okay, so is there any questions or concerns? Councillor Durkee, you have the floor. Go ahead.
We're being asked to support the Buy Local campaign with a modest contribution of $2,000, which I think is pretty minimal. And this would help all of our local businesses. So I'd like to make a motion that we support the Chamber of Commerce and the Buy Local campaign with a contribution of $2,000.
Moved by Councillor Durkee. Do we have a seconder for that? Do we have a seconder for Councillor Durkee's request for motion? Okay, Councillor Gerard LeBlanc, you seconded the motion. Okay, it's on the floor now. So is there discussion Deputy Warden, go ahead. And then Daniel. John, did you wish to speak? Hitty. Okay, Daniel, you wish to say?
Yes, I'm just, I'm in agreement that it's a minimal ask. I know we're also investors in Yasta that are putting on the same similar type of, travel local, thing local. So, we're already kind of into this. What we haven't talked about is our procurement practices. That is also part of this letter. I'm kind of curious to see. I mean, I agree. I'm not sure where we would go. We'd have to look at our policies as far as the 10%, above that of a non-local supplier. If they're not within 10% or something, we would go with a non-local. So that's also part of this letter that we haven't discussed. The $2,000, I agree with Patty, is a pretty simple ask. So to advertise, but there is a second part of this that we also should be discussing, I think, because it's going to involve a little bit of adjustment to our policies. Unless we want to do it in two,
Separate.
I'm just kind of looking here. I'm just rereading it again. I guess it's just asking us to review our policies so we can make the motion and review it, I guess. So I'm probably getting ahead of myself. But no, I agree with Councillor Durkee that $2,000 seems to be a fairly small ask if we can help out local businesses.
Was there some further discussion on that motion? I'll ask one question, and then it's of the CAO. Our policies on procurement at this time, and I know on tenders and so on, there is rules and so on in there, local and so on. I can't remember all of the legalities and so on, but this is nothing that it's going to change major for the municipality. If I mean, we buy as much local as we possibly can anyway. In that respect, the only time we go outside is when there's no supplier of, I'll say, of something that Yarmouth doesn't have. Would that not be the case?
So I'm scanning our procurement policy now. So with respect to buying local, section 19.9 reads that where there's a tie bid, it will automatically go to the local person. We also have a whole section on local preference. So
Yeah.
Section 22 is on local preference. So the municipality may give preference to purchasing goods and services from local businesses in accordance with the following. And our threshold is actually 5% or $5,000. But we can absolutely take a look at that. But we have always provided for a consideration for supporting the local economy.
So was there any further discussion? The motion was $2,000 by Councillor Durkee, seconded by
Yes, Mr.
Councillor
Chair.
LeBlanc. Go ahead,
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Deputy Warden. Yes, Deputy Warden.
Yeah, I can hear you guys, but unfortunately you guys can't hear me every once in a great while.
Yeah.
I would prefer that we defer decision on this motion. Is it time sensitive? I guess through you to the
Yeah.
Madam,
It is. So maybe I could help council by letting you know where this money's going to come from. So there's a couple places this money can come from. You have a contingency in your grants, but we also have an economic development budget, and there are some line items in that aren't going to happen that are around events. So I don't think you need to be worried about where it's going to come from in our budget.
it wasn't that it was a large amount. It was just I didn't expect this motion tonight. I wished it would have come to the committee of the whole first, so we could have discussed and hashed out any issues like Councillor Allen had put forward. I would just, at this time, I would have to vote no on that motion because I'm not quite understanding a couple things about it. And I'm really not sure if I have the questions in my head that I want to ask, to tell you the truth. And in that case, I would be voting nay, but I know that in the Mount Small, I certainly own a business locally, and I know any promotion that we can do to shop locally certainly would help all of us. But I'd like to do a little more research on this before I'd actually vote on it. That's just my opinion.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, are you ready for the question?
Question.
Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded?
Nay.
Okay, I'm trying to get here now. Okay, Councillor Cunningham was nay. John Cunningham was nay.
Correct.
And Councillor Gerard LeBlanc is a nay. And is Councillor Lauren Cushion a nay? Okay. So there was three nays. And I gotta stop and think, where's the other four of us? Patty, Daniel, Leland, and Trevor. Trevor, you voted for it? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Motion carried. I just wanted to get it straight here. I wasn't sure, guys. Okay. Getting around my. I understand where Councillor, the Deputy Warden is. I know we like to discuss things and so on. Sometimes you don't always have that opportunity to get into some deep discussion, but to show support to businesses within Yarmouth County and so on is $2,000. Let's see what they can do. Let's see where they're looking after federal and provincial money, whatever, or municipal money and so on. It's a very small amount, and I think it would be it'd be beneficial. At least we'll learn some lessons. Okay, let me follow down through here, guys. 10.2 for information. 10.2.1, letter from NSFM per the 14 billion safe restart agreement. And that's there for discussion and so on. And I know we're working on trying to get our share of that money and so on. So is there any comments or any concerns or anything at this time from? I know one thing, COVID hasn't stopped the emails from flowing and information. Everybody doing things from home and so on. I don't think, just information only, CAO?
The whole section is just for information unless there's
Yeah.
specific questions, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. I don't hear anything, so 10 point, okay, go ahead, Councillor Durkee.
This isn't conflict of interest because I don't get anything financially from this, but there is a request to look at the grant request from the Friends of the Yarmouth Light, who are opening up for the season. And I guess so a decision would have to be made by council to address that grant request.
So Councillor Durkee, I never read that in this letter.
Oh, that's not the one.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
Got it. Okay, my
Okay.
fault. My fault.
No worries.
So, but there is a request, I guess, to maybe to someone from staff, council to meet and kind of talk about some direction. And because the belief is that we all want to work together and support each other in future ventures.
I'm sorry, where's my ad here? Yeah. No, I was on 2. I got to get this right. 2.2. Turtle, that was the. Oh, I'm sorry. No, 2.1, letter from NSFM, the $14 billion, right? That's where we're at. Yeah, that's for information. And the next item up was 10.2.2, letter of response from Municipal Affairs and Housing Consolidation, because we sent a letter. Go ahead, Councillor Cunningham.
I think Minister Porter was quite correct in his response that we should wait to discuss amalgamation until after the municipal election in the fall,
Yes.
and certainly at that time we'll be able to take the time to make it clear what that option would look like to folks. So we'll go through that process again, and I'm thinking, and have those conversations, and involve all the councils and see where we land. Thank you so much.
Councillor Durkee.
There are 2 letters from NSFM, so I want to I can speak to both of those. Essentially, NSFM keeps trying. They have been working diligently to ask the province for assistance because of the losses that the municipalities are facing through the province and through the federal government. There was a big paper that was just released, which was sent to you about the money from $66 million, roughly, was the money lost across the province, and they're trying to get the province to go to the federal government to get a fair share of the funding that's available. I can just tell you that the work from NSFM to lobby for municipalities has not stopped. It's ongoing, and it's been a lot of work. So kudos to the staff at NSFM and the board members who have been, honestly, we've been meeting weekly, and we've been having weekly meetings with the wardens and the CAOs and deputies from across the province to keep up. We're not letting down. We're working really hard, and we just hope that everybody at some point gets the assistance they deserve.
Okay. So,
I think we jumped ahead.
well, yeah, I have 2 agendas. I have I won't call it no agenda. It's the agenda that came out on Friday, and I'm trying to work off on that, but I also realized that there's a kind of an update. So I have a 10, go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, no, I just wanted to respond as well as Trevor, Councillor Cunningham, about the 10.22 letter of response. I see he's also encouraging us to reach out to our municipal partners of Argyle and Yarmouth to maybe have discussions.
Yes.
Keep ongoing discussions, I guess,
Yes.
about our concerns. And I'm always willing to sit down anytime we can get together I don't know about getting together, but whenever, to keep the discussion open so that it's, it's still,
Yeah.
We don't want it to fade away just in case,
Yeah.
I guess. So, all right.
Okay. So then moving on, it's 10.2.3. Events Nova Scotia, and I'm going to make my apologies to my fellow councillors. I have not read and looked into that one. So what is the wishes of, it's for information, I take it? Correspondence? Any concerns or thoughts? If not, 10.2.4, NSFM report to municipalities in dire straits. Any concerns, comments?
I've made my comment already.
Yes, yeah, no, I
That's why I
realized
said
that, yeah.
After
Yeah.
1.2 or
Yeah,
10.2.1, I figured
Yeah.
I'll do the whole
Yeah.
at once.
10.2.5, summer bounce back, recreation summer programs. CAO, go ahead.
Nope.
I'm sorry.
It's just for information. Yep.
Yes, yeah.
I will say that as you're all aware, Dr. Strang and the Premier and Minister Porter indicated that municipal recreation programs could offer their day camp programs, and most municipalities were not in a position to roll out the traditional day camp model this year due to COVID-19, and so that is our response to that permission from the province. Our bounce back programs. So they will be in 3 different locations this week. doing everything from rock painting to skateboard clinics to, I think there's a kite making clinic somewhere this week. So they're shortened events, and they're moving all around the town of Yarmouth and the municipality of Yarmouth. And they're our response to the day camp piece. And it's called Bounce Back.
10.2.6, letter from the Friends of the Yarmouth Light Society, the Harborfront Museum. You had that in your package. And
Yeah,
so on.
I chatted about that one already too.
You have that as, like say, for information. Any comments or concerns or anything? Hearing none. Was there,
Mr. Warden,
yes.
Councillor
Oh,
LeBlanc has his hand
yes.
up.
I'm sorry, I was looking, okay, go ahead, Councillor LeBlanc.
Well, you know, that letter was well written. I appreciate Liz sending a nice letter, but I was very hurt when the Friends of the Light did what they did. They should have listened to us at that time. They weren't kicked out. Everybody thinks that they were kicked out. They weren't kicked out. They went with their heads between their legs and they left. And I didn't like. I still don't like it. They took artifacts from the Yarmouth Light, and they went and started their own. They could have stayed there. They could have had the museum there. They, you know, they're the ones that. So, as far as I'm concerned, no, I'm not going to help that.
Councillor Durkee?
I believe it's Councillor Cushing who always says there's two sides to every story. And Gerard, I think I would highly recommend to you that you go back and read all of the documentation between Friends of the Light and the municipality. There are still hard feelings. I can share a lot of information. Unfortunately, I was in a difficult position being on the board of the Friends of the Yarmouth Light and on municipal council. But I can tell you that the artifacts that were taken from the lighthouse belong to the Friends of the Yarmouth Light. And there's documentation. It was not the choice of the Friends of the Yarmouth Light to leave. The situation became such that it wasn't going to work for the municipality and it wasn't going to work for the Friends of the Yarmouth Light under the lease agreement that was made. And it was the choice of the Friends of the Yarmouth Light to leave because of some of the restrictions that were being put and the decisions that were being made. So everybody wants to move forward and everybody wants to work together and repair relationships. There have been some very bad letters that have come back and forth. There's been some legal issues and they would like to see that resolved. So I think there's a lot more information that maybe you need to understand that hasn't been shared, unfortunately. But that letter is reaching out to say, you know, the new museum is there to promote Cape Frishew and any other icon in Nova Scotia, and a lot of positive work is being done. And again, they want, the priority is to try and repair the relationship because we all need to work together to promote all of the things in the area.
Councillor Cushion.
Yes, as Councillor Durkee said, there's two sides to every story. I do agree with that, but I also have to agree with what Councillor LeBlanc was saying. Nobody asked them to leave. But anyway, it's a discussion.
Yeah.
It's a future discussion that we will have to look at down the road.
This is not a discussion we should have now, but I do want to say that on the letter that they are asking to work together to move forward. Believe it or not, the more museums you have, the more tourist attractions you have, the Firemen's Museum, the Yarmouth County Museum, the Fuller Brush House, etc. So one more museum that they're working on and so on. I think it's a great idea. Gives people something to do. People don't want to go to the Firemen's Museum. They like to go to a fishing type of or a lighthouse museum. So give them more. I give them credit. I give them credit for sending the letter. And I think we can sit down in the very near future and have a chit chat. I think it'd be a good idea. You know, communication builds the road. So everybody always thought it was the pick and shovel. I think it's communication that builds the road. Through that, you get the pick and shovel done. Anyway, I think I'm going back between two here. That's the last of everything. Am I right? It just goes into other business. If there's any other business of council at this time, otherwise we need to take a. You want to take a 5-minute recess or whatever before you go in camera?
Yeah,
Okay. So Victoria, I need a motion to take a recess. Yes. I need a motion. Then Gerard, are you
Okay.
making it? Or
okay.
moved by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. You want to take it's 5 to. Yeah. Well, one watch says 8 minutes to 8. The other one says 10. You guys just want to take 5 minutes?
Certainly.
Okay.
That sounds good. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Everybody take 5 minutes. Seating or what's happening there. So order and then hand it over to you.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Okay, call the meeting back to order. I need a motion, well, I don't need a motion. At this time, I'd ask the Deputy Warden, John Cunningham, to take over the meeting of the in-camera. Go ahead, Victoria.
We are in council. We do need a motion to go in camera, Mr. Warden.
Yes, well, I'll just hand it off to John and let
Oh.
him call that motion. John,
I'll make
it's
a
yours.
motion. Okay. I'll make a motion to move in the camera.
All right, moved by Councillor Daniel Allen. Do I have a seconder?
Patty's waving, John.
Patty,
You gotta, sorry, everyone, you gotta remember that I can't see everybody all at the same
Yeah.
time, so.
Yeah,
Speak up.
speak up.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Welcome back to the council meeting. First off, we need a motion to waive or extend the council meeting where we're over time.
I'll make a motion to waive the mandatory adjournment time.
Okay, moved by Councillor Allen. Do I have a seconder?
I can second that.
Seconded by Councillor Durkee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. All right, councillors, we have one recommendation from the in-camera session of our meeting. Is anyone prepared to make a motion on that?
Gerard.
Councillor LeBlanc has his hand up, Deputy Warden.
Councillor LeBlanc, do you wish to make that a motion?
You're muted, Councillor LeBlanc.
LeBlanc, you have the floor.
So I just read the offer, right? I move to give the warden, Leland Anthony, leave of absence from all council duties. The public statement will read. at
No.
the mun-
No.
Which one is it?
1, 2, 3, and 4, councillor.
Okay. The leave will be with full pay, with the exception of the travel allowance. The warden will be required to take anger management counseling, and the leave will be to the end of the term.
Okay, a motion on the floor by Councillor LeBlanc. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, I
I'll-
can't see everyone.
I'll-
I see
I'll-
Councillor Allen.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion on the floor by Councillor LeBlanc, seconded by Councillor Daniel Allen. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Yes, I believe the motion needs to, or should be amended to say that a motion was passed to approve of leave of absence following an internal review under Modi Elected Officials Code of Conduct as well, policy V-1068-19.
Is that
I'll accept.
okay with the mover and seconder?
I'll
Yeah.
accept that.
Okay,
Yes.
the motion's on the floor
Thank you.
to following an internal policy review of policy V-1068-19, that the council grants the warden the leave of absence from all council duties. The leave will be with full pay with the exception of travel allowance. The warden will be required to take anger management counseling, and the leave will be to the end of this council's term. Is everyone clear on the motion, and is there any discussion on the motion? If not, I'd entertain a question on the motion.
Question?
Question being called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much, council. I believe that's the end of our business. Madam CAO, is there any other business or motions that need to be passed other than motion to adjourn?
No, just that we'll be reaching out to you to arrange to have a discussion about the representation that the warden had on committees and boards to make sure that those responsibilities get looked after.
Thank you very much, Madam CAO. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor LeBlanc and seconded by Councillor Trevor Cunningham. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much, council. This concludes the meeting of June the 24th, 2020. Thank you very much.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.